Good morning, Your Excellencies, honorable ministers, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As President and Chair of the Export-Import Bank of the United States, it is an absolute honor to be participating in this summit alongside my colleagues from the Biden-Harris administration. And I'm delighted to moderate this exceptional and distinguished panel. We're truly honored to host His Excellency William Ruto, President, Republic of Kenya. His Excellency Aziz Akhannouch, Prime Minister, Kingdom of Morocco. Tony Elumelu, Chairman, United Bank of Africa. Al Kelly Jr., Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Visa, Inc. Mr. Mene, Secretary General of the AFC-FTA Secretariat. And the Honorable Ambassador Catherine Tai, U.S. Trade Representative. You know, I think we can all agree that this summit truly reflects an unprecedented manifestation of the strong bonds between America and Africa. You know, in strengthening this bond, trade and investment between Africa and America are at the heart of more prosperity for Africa, and a just world needs more prosperity in Africa. Trade and investment leads to economic growth and job creation. And this is the reason we're here today. Africa represents approximately 3% of global trade, and U.S. trade and investment with Africa accounted for less than 2% of U.S. global trade in 2021. We firmly believe that through partnerships and collaborations embraced by the Biden-Harris administration and implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, we will raise Africa to be a more meaningful player in global trade and investment. So let's get started. Given our limitation on time, we will have 2 rounds of questions, and I will ask each of you to speak for about 2 minutes per round. So let's get started. What opportunities do each of your countries or organizations see to deepen trade and investment ties between U.S. and Africa, and what specific steps are you taking to realize that potential? Let's start with Your Excellency, President Ruto.
Thank you very much. As you have said, this is a very important fora for the continent of Africa and the U.S. to recalibrate and possibly re-engineer the relationship between America or the U.S. and Africa, especially in the space of trade and investment. There are glaring opportunities that Africa and the U.S. can take advantage of. We need to engineer a win-win formula. Win-win, taking advantage of the competitive advantage of the U.S. in capital, know-how, machinery, and taking advantage of Africa's population, energy resources, and the obvious Africa Continental Free Trade Area that gives us that leverage. So what I see as the opportunity that exists between the U.S. and Africa is that while the U.S. has huge capital potential, on the other hand, Africa, with 1.4 billion people, going to 2.5 billion people by 2050, combines the opportunity of capital and population. And when I say population, sometimes population is seen as in terms of income. But I dare say that if you look, for example, at techno, by investing in telephone for the Africa continent. They have become the third largest mobile company in the world because they have taken advantage of the numbers in Africa. Let me give another example. The World Report tells us that food and agribusiness is going to be a $1 trillion business, up from $300 billion at the moment. Again, the US, with the know-how and with machinery, can take advantage of the huge land resources in our continent, the big population in our continent. Instead of exporting commodities, the US should find an opportunity in investing the capital they have, the machinery they have, the know-how they have, so that they can produce for the African continent in Africa. Not to export commodities into Africa, but to export capital, to export know-how, to export machinery. I dare say, as a farmer myself, John Deere is a good tractor in Africa. And that is what America should be exporting. And together, combine the resources we have in the continent and the opportunities that the collaboration can present. Let me conclude by saying that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is necessary because today, intra-Africa trade is at 17%. It presents to us an opportunity because Asia, what can America do? The reason why intra-Africa trade is low is because of physical infrastructure and logistics. That physical infrastructure, road, rail, can be financed by capital from the US. And the market that comes as we increase the intra-Africa trade can benefit both US and African farms. And finally, the demographic dividend that the median age in Africa is 20 gives us the opportunity to leverage on the labor that Africa presents to the US investor. So Africa comes with population, comes with enormous energy resources, comes with huge labor, and US can come with capital, know-how, and machinery, and we can have a win-win outcome.
Thank you.